Good evening, it's meteorologist Michael Fecka. Welcome back to the 9 p.m. all-weather, all-streaming show we do here every night during the workdays and on weekends. We stream it out to all of our streaming platforms, including Facebook Live and YouTube. So if you're joining from either place, please feel free to leave us a question or a comment. Hopefully I'll be able to address it all as I go through the forecast, but if not, I'll go through at the very end and see if I can answer anything individually for you. So let's get started here with a look at the headlines and what we're tracking out here through the next couple of days. Well, we're still looking at occasional flurries, mainly to the north and east of Evansville. They've been kind of moving in here from the north as that colder air continues to filter in from the north. So we'll continue to squeeze out maybe a few more flakes. Again, not expecting any impacts or accumulations out of it. Just a little pretty winter reminder that it is February still, and it certainly felt like it out there today because it was very, very cold. We had temperatures only warm up into the upper 20s to lower 30s across the tri-state, and then we also had very strong wind gusts, so that was helping to make it feel even colder out there. Wind chill values were hanging out in the teens all day long, but we'll have one more day where winter's still kind of in place here across the tri-state before we warm back up into the 50s through the middle of the work week. And then also we'll have a chance for some more rainfall here Wednesday night and into Thursday. And then it looks like temperatures even continue to climb into the end of the work week, into the first half of next weekend before cooling back down to around average. So I'll break down all of those details coming up here first. But let me go ahead and check out the radar for you. Again, we've been mostly cloudy all day long. There's those flurries that just continue to kind of wrap in from the north as that colder air descends in. Now, it does look like the majority of that will come to an end here about in the next hour or two. But again, I don't even think a lot of this is really reaching the ground. There is some drier air in place, but even what is reaching the ground, of course, is not really accumulating to much of anything at all. So just some pretty flakes to round out the weekend here. But looking at the future radar, that cloud cover will also remain in place through the overnight hours, and it'll finally break apart headed into the mid to late morning on Monday. So it does look like maybe some of our far eastern counties like Hancock, Perry, and out towards Du Bois County may be stuck in the clouds through much of the day on Monday, but the rest of the tri-state looks to escape that cloud cover even through tomorrow afternoon. And then it looks like we'll see mostly clear skies there by Monday evening before more cloud cover fills in throughout the day on Tuesday. But talking about the bigger story here, which is those temperatures. I mean, today we topped out at around 31 degrees here in the Evansville area. Other places hardly cracked 30 degrees. So it was a very, very chilly day, especially compared to the temperatures we've been dealing with for the last couple of weeks. It's felt like full-on spring here in the tri-state. So I know a lot of us probably, took the winter hat and the gloves and the winter jacket, threw it in the back of the closet and said, never again. But it's always a good reminder that you need to keep that stuff around because winter is not over yet. We've got about a month left here, and we'll continue to probably see a couple of cold snaps here even through the next couple of weeks, even if we are mostly warm the majority of the time. But some areas to our south, 37 there in the Paducah area. Up to our north, they only topped that at around 27 up towards Indianapolis. And looking at our departure from normal, so our average high versus what we actually reached is around 18 degrees cooler, and we've been usually above average here for the last couple of weeks, so that's why it was kind of a shock to the system as you stepped outside. But temperatures are hanging strong in the mid to upper 20s, especially with that cloud cover in place. Until we start to see that break up a little bit, we probably won't be cooling down all that much, but we will eventually get there by early tomorrow morning, dropping down into the teens, but it is still pretty gusty. We've got wind gusts gusting anywhere between 20 to 30 miles per hour. They will start to kind of subside tonight, but we'll still be breezy with gusts up to 20 possible even into tomorrow morning. But it's those wind gusts that's making it feel a whole lot worse, especially if you don't have any gloves or hats with you. I knew when I was outside today just going en route and running errands, my knuckles were definitely taking the brunt of it. They got dry real quick, and they started to burn. So definitely make sure you're bundled up if you're going to be walking outside overnight or early tomorrow morning if you're headed out to work or school, which I'll show you what those feels like temperatures will be in just a moment. But it feels like 17 degrees here in the Evansville area. It feels like 15 out towards Huntingburg and into the 20s there in Madisonville and Greenville. Looking at the next 12 hours, we'll drop down into the upper teens to right around 20 degrees by tomorrow morning. And looking at that wind gust forecast, you can see the winds will remain on the breezier side with gusts up to 20 possible even into early tomorrow morning. So the wind chill will definitely be a factor as you head out the door. So it will feel like possibly the single digits in many locations tomorrow morning as you head out to the school bus or out to work. So you definitely want to make sure you warm your car up a good bit ahead of time. You want to make sure you've got multiple layers and you want to find that winter jacket just for one more day, because we will start to warm back up through the middle of the work week. But looking at our actual temperatures, we'll climb back up into the lower 30s by tomorrow afternoon with partly cloudy skies. And then looking at our 7-day temperature trend, we'll start to warm up beginning Tuesday. We'll have that high pressure system kind of slide off to our south, and that's going to bring winds from the south, and that's going to help warm us back up to around average into the mid 40s there by Tuesday afternoon, and then above average through the rest of the work week, topping out at around 55 degrees for Wednesday. And then we'll see that system move in here. That'll bring us our chance for some widespread rainfall, and that will cool our temperatures down by a few degrees for Thursday before we warm back up again into the mid 50s by Friday with plentiful sunshine. And even into the first half of the weekend, we may even see temperatures reaching the upper 50s to lower 60s once again. But then it looks like another cold front drops in here Saturday night into Sunday. That'll increase our cloud cover, perhaps even a few sprinkles possible, but it'll bring our temperatures back down to around average for the second half of next weekend. But taking a look at those precipitation chances I mentioned, we have a system moving in here Wednesday into Thursday, and that looks to be our best chance for some widespread rainfall here, at least through the next 7 days. So let's take a look at that on our longer range European model. We'll have a front kind of pass overhead, a weak front here on Wednesday, and that'll kind of allow this area of low pressure to kind of follow that frontal boundary. So we'll see a warm front lift back to our north Wednesday night into Thursday. That'll kick off the chance for a few more of those showers, and then this area of low pressure kind of passes overhead through Thursday morning into Thursday afternoon before tapering off into Thursday night. And looking ahead to our Friday, we'll have high pressure building back into our south, and that's what will warm us back up for the end of the work week, and it will keep us dry with mostly sunny skies. So the pick of the week here for the work week, definitely Friday. So if you want to do anything outside or you want to plan something outside for a hike, maybe going out for lunch or anything like that, make sure it's on Friday, because I think Friday is going to be a really beautiful day. Saturday was also going to be nice, but we do have that cold front moving in for Saturday evening with that chance for a few sprinkles there. But I do want to take a look at rainfall amounts through the middle of the work week. We're looking at anywhere between 1/4 of an inch and maybe possibly up to an inch in some parts of the tri-state. It looks like the heavier amounts of rain maybe stick to areas like western Kentucky, with less as you go farther north and west of the Evansville area. And it should be a mostly beneficial rainfall here because, believe it or not, we are still running below average in terms of our liquid equivalent precipitation. We've been well above average for snowfall thanks to pretty much just that one snowstorm that we have, but it doesn't really equal a lot of liquid when you melt it down. So the ground is still fairly dry across much of the tri-state, and even moderate to severe drought conditions persist across portions of southern Illinois. Now, unfortunately, with this next system, it looks like southern Illinois gets the least amount of rainfall and western Kentucky gets the most, where they don't necessarily need it all that much. But in general, this will help us out a little bit in terms of that rainfall deficit. But taking a look at our 7-day forecast, just to kind of wrap everything up in a little bow for you, I'll take that full screen while I take a look at some of your comments. All right. Suzanne said it sure was cold today. Yes, it was very, very cold, especially when that wind blew in. It just cut through all the layers that you have. Angie says, good evening from Vincennes. Windy today and cold. Yes, indeed. Shelley, good evening to you too. Jimmy, hello, hello. Sergeant says, good evening from Owensboro. Happy to have you here. Shelly says, cold, windy, and a flurry today for sure. Absolutely. Cheyenne says, good evening. Looks like Zach Seitz is asking about severe weather next week. We're not anticipating severe weather at this time, so you don't need to be worried about that. Gail is asking, will this bit of winter will we have? I'm not sure exactly what the question is, but hopefully we can clarify that. Linda's hoping that the cold temperatures leave fairly soon. Well, they will. We've only got one more day here. Tomorrow will be another very, very cold day, but we do warm back up around average by Tuesday. So just another 24 hours that we've got to get through. Faye says, good evening. Donna says, good evening, and thanks for the update. You are very welcome. And Cindy says, hello from Elberfield. So thank you all for joining us. Not seeing any other questions or comments here. So it looks like I'm probably going to wrap up this live stream here in just a moment. I'll send you guys on your way to 14 News at 10 for all the latest news and weather headlines. Until then, everybody, stay safe and stay warm, and I'll see you again next week.